So you've probably heard this feedback before. Be more strategic, or maybe someone has told you to see the bigger picture, or that you must build your executive presence. But here's the truth. Most leaders get this feedback, but almost none of them get any actionable insights in terms of what they must start doing or where they must start to become that strategic leader that they're expected to become, right? So today I want to talk about that. Now, in the next few minutes, I would like to share with you what I believe are the 3 simple habits that strategic leaders practice to strengthen their executive presence and start showing up as true strategic leaders. So the first habit is what I call the input-output loop. Now here's a challenge. We consume endless amount of information throughout the day, reading articles and podcasts and videos. Anytime that I want to start working on a project, I would want to do some research to find out before even I start to put pen to paper. But here's the problem. 99% of whatever that we consume, it just evaporates. It never sticks. Why doesn't it stick? Because we don't have an accountability of an output. So I created a simple rule for myself that every time that I consume any amount of content, I will have something to show for it. So for example, if I read for an hour, then I'll write a short post about it. And if I watch a video, then I'm going to share a takeaway or some insight with my team. And if I attend a webinar, then I like to create a reflection note from what I took away from that webinar. Now, why it is important is because creating an output forces you to process what I call having a so what conversation. What happened was something that you read, and so what is, so what does that mean for you? Or so what does that mean for me? What exactly did I take away from that? How is it important for me? Where can I apply it, and how can I use that? Right? So when you do that, you are holding yourself accountable for the output. Having said that, it also communicates to people around you that Rajiv, he just doesn't consume information. He actually uses it in his workplace. So that is one and first step towards becoming and be seen as more strategic. Now the second habit is of engaging in perspective building conversations. Once you have read something, or once you have formed an idea or a perspective about a particular idea, how do you know you are correct? How do you know that what you're thinking is right? Well, unless and until you were to look at different perspectives, you would not know it. And this is where the problem is, because many a times leaders would enter a conversation not to learn, but to prove to others how much do they know, how intelligent they are, or that their opinions are right. The risk is that even if at some point it's proven wrong, we are so much married to our opinions that we are unwilling to change our stance. On the other hand, the strategic thinkers, when they enter a conversation, they enter it from a perspective of learning, because they realize that our brains are wired for validating what we know. And if we continue to do that, we run the risk of locking ourselves up in an echo chamber of our own thoughts and perspectives, right? So here's a shift. Seek out people from outside your domain to discuss your ideas. People with different expertise, different lenses, philosophies, right? It doesn't matter. And why is that important? Is because insights are generated at the intersection of thinking. In today's world, information is commoditized. We all know that. Everybody has the same amount of information. But with the advent of AI, even execution is getting commoditized. What a large organization with 100,000 employees could do today, an individual using AI can execute the same thing. So what differentiates you is your thinking and how sharp your thinking is. But if we were to continue to work only from our perspectives, we run the risk of making too many mistakes. So, and that is the reason most strategic thinkers, they actively try to look for evidence that challenges their own perspectives, to plug the holes of their own thinking so that they are wrong less number of times. But here's another challenge. When we do get an opportunity to have conversations of this nature in our workplace, when we are invited to some strategic meetings, many leaders, they would keep quiet and not put their ideas or thoughts forward because they would be thinking in terms of, oh, I might sound stupid, or I'm not an expert, or my ideas are not fully formed. And if I were to say something stupid, I might not come across as intelligent and it might have long-term implications. But here the bigger risk is you keeping quiet and not speaking up. Here's a shift that I would like to offer. Enter these conversations from a place of curiosity, from a place of asking questions, absorbing viewpoints, and training yourself to see the world from a different perspective rather than trying to prove a point to them. And you will find that your thinking becomes sharper and you become a much better strategic thinker. So now that we have consumed content, we have engaged in a perspective building conversation, we have looked at how am I thinking, whether my thinking is right or not. It is time for you to start capturing and shaping those insights, right? And this is what brings us to the third habit of capturing what you have learned. Now here I want to make an important distinction, and that is the distinction between taking notes and making notes. Now, note taking is when you copy something that you find interesting, like a quote or a snippet or a video or a screenshot from an article or a video. But note making is when you actively engage with the content that you have just consumed and you process it in your own words, make it your own. So I read a quote some time back and it said that you only own what you make. So unless and until you make it your own, it doesn't get integrated into your thinking. Because anything that you have captured and put neatly in folders in your system is not going to do anything for you unless and until it is up there. But when you start making notes, that's where the real magic happens. That starts to shape your thinking, that starts to build you as a better person and grow you as a strategic leader. So how do you do that? Well, I use a very simple tool. It's called 1-3-1 framework. 1 insight, 3 supporting evidence, and 1 action item. So whenever that I engage with any content and have gone through this exercise, I would ask myself this question: what is the one single biggest takeaway that I'm taking from this piece of information or exercise? What is one clear insight that I have gained from here? What are the 3 supporting points or evidences that reinforce that insight? And finally, what is that one concrete step that I can take to apply it, to move the needle, to translate that into action? Now, when you do this, you transform passive learning into personal wisdom. Personal wisdom is the seat of conviction and confidence when you are in the boardroom or in a strategic discussion. When you are putting your points across, there is a huge amount of conviction that comes across through your tone and voice because of this knowledge, because of this wisdom. You come across as a strategic leader who is calm, cool, and confident in their knowing. And that's what makes you stand out into these meetings, boardrooms, and strategic sessions. Okay, so let's put it all together. If you start practicing these 3 habits, input-output loop, engaging in perspective building conversations, and note making with 1-3-1 framework, you'll start to create what is called information asymmetry. Here's what it means. In a meeting where everybody is saying the same thing, you bring a different angle. You bring a different insight or a fresh perspective. And that's what changes the room. That's where you start to stand out head and shoulders above everybody else. This is where people start to reach out to you for your insights. You start getting invited to those real meetings where the real impact is created. That's when decision makers start to notice you. And that's when your executive presence truly begins to shine. Okay, so here's my challenge for you. Don't just watch this video or listen to this. Practice one of these habits today. And to make it easier, what I've done is created a one-page note for you, which has got those 3 habits and a template, 131 template for you to start working on it. So my challenge to you is create your own insights for this video and capture them, because strategy is not about a title and strategic thinking is not about just sounding intelligent. It is about a habit that you build. One conversation, one note, one insight at a time. Okay, so thank you for watching. I would love to hear your comments and would like to know which one of these 3 habits that you have started implementing. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.